the Daily Ramble podcast.
Good morning, you lovely people. It's Nick from Claret and Booze. I hope you're all well. Just going to stick my headphones on quickly because I was having problems yesterday. One moment. Do I sound all right? I don't sound all right. I sound like me, but there's no echo or anything, is there? I'm assuming there's not. No, that sounds all right. Right. Thursday morning. It's we've got England tonight, so we're gonna talk a little bit about that later, just short and sharp. I'm not gonna sort of ponder on that for too long, but it is exciting. 5 o'clock kickoff. England play Denmark. Wondering what Gareth Southgate does. Now we've got 3 points on the board. Will we see a few changes? Will he make a few little tweaks? You know, certainly to personnel, but I think he will personally. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. Before we get going anywhere, if you are new to this channel, please subscribe because it does really help us. And don't forget, drop a like on the video because it is, as I say, every single morning. This is a ghost shift. There's not that many people about this time in the morning. In fact, I think you're all watching me because there ain't that many people on YouTube this time in the morning. So drop a like. It tells YouTube to share it around. Thank you very much. Okay, look, let's go through the chat. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to discuss what the thumbnail's all about because I've had a few conversations with people basically pulling me up a little bit, saying I feel like your positivity slipping in relation to the new season. I'm going to set the record straight, but you know me, I don't really do gaslighting, so I'm gonna talk to you about that and why my mood is slightly changing. Or I'm getting nervous and I'm getting paranoid anyway. All right, so we'll talk about that in a minute. But first of all, let's go through the chat. So we've got Lee Walsh. Good morning, mate. Good morning. We've got Louis. Happy Hammerette. Iggy Goes Pop. Darren Higgins. We've got Leslie Barden. We've got Leon Nickra. We've got Banana Cat. Michael Vickers. Finding some unique names. Hang on. We've got Green Badge. Chris Small. David Riley. Mark Rumnalls. Bodge is back. Sparksy, Ash Nugent, Hammers Mikey, Mark Pendleton, Stuart Surrey. Good morning, Stuart. We've got Matt N, Tony Cook, Paul Clark. We've got Stefan Chivers, the Wurzel from Thummerthat, Henry Richards, William Westhrop. Great name. Good morning, Papa. Mickey Smith, Richard Gardner, Trouty, 77, still getting over your couple of fingers comment from yesterday. Michael Blease, Lee Pettigrew, right, that's enough. Mark Watson, and we've got the lovely Amanda. Okay, there are more in there, but I can't go through comments all morning. As you know, we've only got half hour. So yeah, the thumbnail is Tim in complete control, in full control of the transfer window. We know that Tim's playing an integral part in it. We know that by virtue of the fact that we've signed Guilherme, which is a Tim signing, you know, South American. We know he spent a lot of time over in South America, and we know that the club have backed him to go and get that player in. A lot of money for West Ham to pay for such a young, even though, you know, his potential is through the roof. He's not currently there at the moment, so that's a lot of money for West Ham to back somebody with. You know, typically we don't do that. Sullivan likes tried and tested. It's what he likes, especially if you're spending money, even though it's a stupid policy because there's no return on your money. He just doesn't like to do what he sees as a gamble. But maybe some of the players that he's missed out on, that he's been stung with, the likes of Matthias Soule, that, as we know, he was offered that player for about £1 million 2 years ago. This stuff must start to add up, you know, because if we go and sign Matthias Soule now, which I bloody hope we do, I hope that deal does get reignited, and they go back and they manage to sort of sort out their differences, whatever's happened behind the scenes, because it's got nothing to do with Juventus doubling their valuation of that player. That's rubbish, you know. So it's not dead. It's never dead. You know, the window is long. So I hope that we go back and we reignite that deal, because he's a player that I think would really make a massive difference for us, especially if Paqueta either moves to Man City or ends up banned. You know, that's it. You know, the player he's replacement and his future replacement, it's done, it's dusted. You know, we've got strength in depth, so I hope that does happen. But I'm referencing Max Kilman again, not because I want to bash Max Kilman, by the way. I'm using Max Kilman as a point of reference. Because if you go back through the videos that we've done over the past 4 weeks, around about the past 4 weeks where we've entertained the transfer window, where we've started to talk about players gradually. I've started to get myself motivated for it. Max Kilman's always been a player that I've kind of dismissed as paper talk because we've been linked with him before. We've been linked with him for a couple of windows. So I thought there's nothing in that. There's no way we're going to pay 45 million for a defender at the moment. Not that there's anything, I've got anything against Max Kilman. Not that I think he's crap. I don't think he's worth 45 million. No, I bloody don't. I don't think he's worth anywhere near that. But if we signed him and we got him in for sort of 25 million, 30 million, I'd be happy with that. I'm thinking that's a real solid signing and probably an upgrade on what we've got. Not a huge upgrade, but probably an upgrade on what we've got. He's everything that we want in a defender. He's big. Well, I wouldn't say he's a leader because if you speak to any Wolves fan or you look on the Wolves forums, although he had the armband last season, he didn't deal with that responsibility very well and he didn't have a good season. You know, a little bit like Zuma was given the armband but isn't really captain material. That doesn't mean he ain't a good player. It doesn't mean he ain't a good defender, by the way. But I just don't think he's 45 million and he would add steel to our defence. You know, he's great in the air, great at blocking, old-fashioned defender that's also good on the ball. He's comfortable on the ball. He is. And he's left-sided. So it would be a good signing, but not for 45 million, not when we've got this massive rebuild to do, in my opinion. And we haven't got a bottomless pot of money. There was a couple of comments in the chat yesterday saying, you don't know what you've got to spend. It doesn't matter what we think the number is. FFP dictates we haven't got 300 million to spend. We literally couldn't. Even if the money was there, we couldn't spend it. So we've got to be wise about where our money goes. We have to be. We've got no other choice. Now, why I started to panic about the Max Kilman deal as well is because I kind of sort of coming into this window, David Moyes is gone. We've got the dawn of a new era. West Ham are going to start doing things properly. Tim Stein is our new, not new, but director of football that's finally got the reins. Lopetegui comes in. He's a coach, the head coach. Tim's driving the players. No one's interfering. Well, we started getting links with Max Kilman and Nesri, the same bloody players again. Now, I'm not going to blame all of this on Lopetegui either, even though these are players that Lopetegui's worked with before. He's worked with Kilman, probably had the best 6-month spell of his career at Wolves underneath Lopetegui, so we know that he can work with him. And he's worked with En-Nesyri before as well because he was his striker when Lopetegui was at Sevilla and he was banging in goals. But we were linked with these players long before Lopetegui. So I started to think these are just lazy links. It's lazy journalism, you know. But then Fabrizio Romano, who we know has got really good connections with Tim and the club, not just Tim, he comes out and says West Ham are really serious about Max Kilman. Now, this to me, I started to think, well, what the fuck? What's going on there? Because we know that we've been scouting and sanding out Jacob Greaves, who would cost about 14 million, 15 million, 30 million less than what is being touted for Kilman. He's a left-sided centre-back with all of the key attributes that we're talking about with Max Kilman. Comfortable on the ball, more mobile, a real battler, kind of robust defender as well. And he is a leader. And he's 23. He's got resale value. You know, he could have a great 3 years, 4 years with West Ham and be worth double the money, triple the money still. Max Kilman in 3 years' time is going to be worth nothing. He's 28. So again, I'm starting to think who's running the strategy here now. Thank you. Cheers. Who's running the transfer strategy? Because the fact that Romano has kind of reported that Max Kilman is, we're progressing with that, that's giving it credence. That means that we are. So who's running the strategy? Like I said to you, we know that we've had Jacob Greaves. We know that Nian Perez has been sanded out. We've been scouting that player. Another player that would cost 13, 14 million. A defender in that mould. You don't have a director of football like Tim Stein, who's known as a pearl diver. If you're going to go out and you're going to buy Max Kilman and you're going to buy En-Nesyri and players like that. I understand that you can't go and buy a whole host of 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds, but you can get a whole lot more value for your money than that. That is crazy. So it sort of leads you to start worrying and thinking, well, are we going to end up in a similar situation here? And this is just worrying. This isn't inside information. This makes me wonder, are we going to have a similar situation to last season whereby Tim gets a player? Right, go on, Julian, you can have a player now. And then what, Sullivan gets one. They're all having a bit each. That is not a strategy. It's not. It's ridiculous. It really is, if that is the case. Now, I wouldn't have minded a few players that we were linked with. You know, the midfielder whose name escapes me, and he's now gone to Leverkusen, Alex Garcia. I wouldn't have minded him. I know that he was high on Tim's, on Lopetegui's list. I know that. But that would have been fine. That was apparently around about a 14, 15 million transfer. And he's a top player. He's about 26. That is a type of thing that maybe Tim could look at and he'd go, yeah, does fit the profile, good player, you know, still going to have some value in a few years and it isn't going to cost us a fortune. You can imagine he would back that. But this, you're talking about a player taking a sizable chunk. You're probably a half or a third of the transfer pot on Max Kilman. When we're looking at other players, I've just named two, Nian Perez and Jacob Greaves, who I believe are better. They're younger, and they fit the right age profile. They're going to be worth more in a few years. So what do we think about that? What I wanted to ask you lot was in the chat: do you really care? Is it just about the window and just getting the players in? You don't care who's responsible, or do you want there to be more structure to this place? Do you want it to be Tim that is running this? Tim sets a vision, sets a philosophy, goes out there, buys the players, talks to Lopetegui and says, because this is where it should be. It should be a case with a director of football and a head coach. The head coach should look at the squad that they've got and they should go, right, I'm weak in this area, I'm weak in this area, I need this type of player, this type of player, this type of player. They can say, I need these attributes, I need a leader, I need pace, I need left-sided, I need someone who's good on the ball. But when it comes down to actually identifying and going out there and getting those players, that should be where the director of football comes in. That's what should happen. If that isn't what is happening, then we are going to end up with a similar situation again. You know, it's gonna be a fractured relationship long term because we're going to have tugs of war scenarios. Once you get down to the last 30 or 40 million, and once Lopetegui's got his foot in the door, if you give him a little bit, he'll want to take a bit more. Not because that's a slight on Lopetegui. Just naturally, he's going to take liberties if all of a sudden he goes, oh, hang on a minute, I can get the players that I want here. It shouldn't be like that. They should set the rules from the off. It should be solid from the off. That should be the scenario, in my opinion. Anyway, I'm going to go through the chat and find out what your thoughts are on that in a second. But that's how I think it should be. Tim is God, director of football. He's the one that goes out there, identifies targets, controls the spend, and fills that squad up. In my opinion, anyway. In my opinion. Now, I'm not saying that isn't what it's going to be. I'm not. And I am sorry if my mood isn't as buoyant about the window as what it was. I want it to be. And I am still excited. I do still think, by the way, I'm going to caveat all of this. I do still think that Max Kilman is a good player. I just don't think he's worth 45 million. I do believe that we're going to have a good season next year as well. I do think that Tim will go out there and Guilherme isn't going to be the last young, exciting player that we sign. I do think we're going to have a good window. But I'm worried that it's going to be I don't know. I'm worried it could go the other way as well. So I'm confident that it'll go the right way, but I'm now worried. When you're in the situation that we're in, sometimes exposure to too much information is a bad thing. You all saw me, 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago. I was very buoyant. I was very buoyed by, the upcoming season with Tim in charge. But then we start getting told things, we start hearing things more and more and more. It chips away at you because you start seeing a dark, dirty and seedy way and stupid way that things do run at West Ham. And it starts to bring you down again. That's all. So I do apologise. I am still confident. I am. I just think sometimes, I wish I didn't hear half the things that we do hear on here, because it is annoying. So what are we thinking? So Peter Phillips says he thinks that Tim should run it, but you know what the dwarf is like. Yeah. It is right. It is that should be the structure. The structure should be Tim as the director of football. Michael Blease says Sullivan needs to let his employees do their jobs and reap the rewards. Absolutely. Papa says Tim needs to have full control and do the job he was brought in to do. No halfway measures. Absolutely. And I think most people are probably going to be saying the same thing. If we're being honest, that's what we all wanted, right? Coming into this window. We don't want that. You know, it isn't. It's not. No one's having a go at Lopetegui and saying that he couldn't identify a player. But in terms of West Ham and the structure of this club and how we want it to move forward, based on the mistakes of the past, we've got a great director of football. We've got a structure in place. Lopetegui's come in as a head coach. Be a fucking head coach. Just sort the team out. Tell Tim what you want. Tim goes out and gets the players. That's how it should be. And if it starts to slip and go the other way, I don't blame Lopetegui. I don't blame Tim. I only blame one man. And you know who that man is, if you can call him a man. Fucking pint-sized tit. Alan Litchfield says, hopefully it's just a case of J-Lo giving Tim a few names to look into. Maybe, but the Max Kilman one, I'm not so sure. Not now bloody Romano's all over it. Honestly, if we go and spend 45 million on Max Kilman and then scrimp and scrape for the rest of the window and end up retaining players like, I don't know, let's say we end up with the same midfield. You end up with Souček and James Ward-Prowse in midfield because we can't afford to replace them or you know, improve in those areas. I don't know. Happy says, I agree with you, Nick, but when a manager has worked with a player already and thinks he can get the best out of him, why wouldn't we go for them? What would you do that, Happy, with the fact that we need 7 or 8 players? You would absolutely do what you're saying, 100%, but would you go out and spend half of your transfer pot on a player that isn't worth 45 million? That's what I'm saying. He's not. He's no more than a 20 million, 25 million pound player, Max Kilman. Not a chance. The reason that it's been inflated is because it's the English tax and because Maidstone have got that huge sell-on clause, you know, that 15 to 20% sell-on clause. So, which is great. It's great for that club. But if we buy them for 40 million and they've got 25% sell-on clause, then they get a 10 million pound windfall. So that's obviously why. That's another reason why at Wolves. But that ain't our problem. They put that in that deal, didn't they, when they signed him? So we've got Adrian Whitfield says Sully needs to concentrate on increasing our world marketing of the club. Leave all football matters to the experts. Yeah, I agree. This is a concern. Remember, Lopetegui is old school, but he knows what he's doing, in my opinion. Yeah. No, look. Like I said to you, I'm happy with Lopetegui as a coach, and I'm happy with Tim as a director of football. And if David Sullivan just opens his wallet and backs off, I won't care about him either. It'll be fine. That's what I thought we was getting this year. It's what we could be getting still. Because don't forget, the only real evidence that we've got is the one player that we've signed. And that dictates that the structure in place is the one that we was all promised, because it's a young 18-year-old kid from Brazil. That's exactly the type of profile of player that we thought that we were going to be going for. So thus far, the structure that we all believed that we was getting, that is what the evidence suggests is what we've got. You know, the hard evidence. We haven't signed a Max Kilman or an En-Nesyri, who's another one who's getting older and ain't going to have much resale value. We'll pay 20 million, 30 million for him, and then he's kind of at his I think he's been at his peak. I think he's coming down the other side personally in the series. But look, I'd be happy if he came in. But yeah, it is what it is. I am getting grumpy, and I am. It is early though. It is early, and I do still feel like poo today. I hope you're all okay. But yeah, that was all I wanted to sort of touch on that subject. We are linked with a load of new players again, but I'm not going to run through the names until I've had a chance to sort of talk to people and rationalise on what's potentially true. What's potentially true and what's not. I just don't see the point. You know, I think we're up to about 150 now. Because I think Russ from the West Ham Network, who reports on every single link, I think we're up to about 150 or something like that, which is just obscene. That's exhausting. Fuck that. No, I've got no interest in that at all. I do want to give a shout out very, very quickly. So Our very own Malcolm Hazel from the Claret and Booze Network, lovely guy. Well, his niece Laura Hazel, she's just completed her 20 summits in 20 days challenge for a mental health charity, and she's managed to raise over £3,000. Unbelievable, brilliant achievement. And amazingly, only 2 of the days out of 20 were dry, so she's having to do all those climbs in the pissing down rain as well. So it was a 10 highest in the lakes and a 10 highest summits in Snowdonia. So I just wanted to give Laura a shout out and say well done. That's an amazing achievement. And Malcolm, you must be very proud. Well, I know you're proud. We were chatting to you about it last night. You're very proud, and so you should be. So yeah, well done, Laura. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll throw a Just Giving in the description after, once we've completed the video as well. If you do want to throw an extra few quid to top her total up, you can. So, wouldn't be a Claret and Booze show if we weren't going to talk about David Moyes, would it? David Moyes yesterday on Talksport, they were talking about. Who was it? It was Jim White, it was Simon Jordan, Crooks, and David Moyes on a Zoom call, because he's in Germany and he's a very important guy. So they're talking about, and they're dismantling, the England performance and looking forward to looking ahead to Denmark and what's going to happen and stuff like that. And they're all kind of paying lip service and gaslighting, and then Crooks, who I'm not a massive fan of, he can get on my tits as well with some of the stuff that he says, but his analysis of Southgate and what we witnessed and what our concerns are pretty much echoed what most of ours are as well. He kind of reeled out all of the concerns and the criticisms that the fans have got, and David Moyes has just sort of sat there like that, while he's talking, because it keeps on panning to him, and when he's finished, old Crooksy. Jim White goes to David Moyes and says, "So, David, have you what are your thoughts on that?" And he's like that. So he's been thinking about his response the whole time, and he goes, "I'm allowed to disagree, aren't I?" Jim White starts laughing, pandering to him, puffing his ego up, and then the most childish of responses. So bear in mind, these are pundits. These are people that are paid to deconstruct, pull things apart, and discuss. That's what they are. That's what they're there for. He's an expert. He's there to give his opinion on things. That's what they're paid money for, right? And he's just come on and gone. I thought I was listening to an experienced manager there talk sort of tactically, and Crooksy, you should consider going and getting your badges, because maybe you could go and do a better job. But basically, completely and utterly being smug, saying, you don't know what you're talking about. You've got no right to comment on football unless you're a manager. You've got no right to comment on football unless you've done your badges. And even Simon Jordan, who is, as we know, he's a big fan of David Moyes, he sort of pulled a face and went, oh, come on, David. He said, you can do better than that, can't you? Bit of a childish argument. And it is childish. And that's what we've been dealing with that bloke, petulant, because it isn't just Crooks that he's got a problem with and that he has that mentality with. It was everyone. He doesn't want to listen to anyone. And all he wants to do is don't question the manager, because he's still looking for a job, so he don't want to upset anyone. The FA might give him a job. They might do. The FA might give him a job, so he's not going to come out and be too outspoken about Southgate. No, he's not. He's still hoping and praying that someone's going to be silly enough to offer him a job. But they're not going to. And if you carry on like this, your punditry career ain't going to last very long. Because what they then did later on the BBC was they sandwiched him. We know how David Moyes loves his women. He does, especially in football. He don't, not at all. I switched it on. You had the Scotland game. You had him sandwiched in between two lovely ladies, and he had a face on him. It was brilliant. And did you catch his comments? It was half time, I believe, and he literally said the words, "I'd hang on until about 80 minutes, and then I'd go for it." We know you would, Dave. We know, and now the rest of the world knows how your mind works. So yes, look, we'll go to the masturbator quickly. Here we go. 1 minute.
How you doing, everyone? Hope you're having a brilliant morning so far, and I hope the rest of the day carries on like that as well. Football's on today, so get work over and done with and get home. Right, so I got a bit of abuse yesterday for my biscuit question. People don't realise what a coconut ring is, or don't realise it's such an elite biscuit. Then someone said to me, I bet you like bounties as well. I was like, fucking love a bounty. Bounty's right up there, if you ask me. And I got a lot of abuse for that as well. So, but the person I'm speaking to, they like a picnic. Fucking raisins and fucking nuts in it. Like, so what's fucking better? A picnic or a bounty? I know all you're going to sit there and say, oh, picnic over a bounty. Maybe when you get older, you might like coconut as well. Maybe when you get a bit bigger.
Ooh, coffee, needed that. It's gone on to talk about coconut flavoured chocolates now. Look, I'll be honest with you, I don't mind a bounty. Dark chocolate bounty, though. I don't eat the milk chocolate ones. Always dark chocolate. Dark chocolate bounties, I don't mind. You know, it's got its place. It ain't got its place being dipped in tea, though, Sam. It ain't. Coconut's one of those things. It's divisive. You either like it or you don't. If you don't like coconut, you ain't going to like a coconut chocolate, Sam. It's just the way it works. But he kind of sparked quite the conversation yesterday on our network. It was going on all night. In fact, it started again last night. There was ridiculous amount of people sort of going back and forth on their favourite biscuits. There were, and it did evolve into chocolate bars as well. But somebody said, I'm going to name you and shame you. Amanda, right? Amanda said, well, I don't know whether I'm going to shame her, right? But she asked whether a Jaffa cake is a cake or a biscuit. Well, it's in the title. It's a cake. It ain't a biscuit because it ain't crunchy. It's a cake. Soft sponge with a little bit of jam, bit of chocolate on top. You know, it is absolutely, it's a cake. That's why it's called a Jaffa cake, Amanda. But yeah, what I am going to do as well, I'm gonna leave you with after Jay, I'm going to come back because Mickey's in the chat, and I'm very, very glad he's in the chat as well. Because don't forget, this fast, this is a preempted fast, so I'm starting again on Monday. I'm actually now really looking forward to it. I was not yesterday. I weren't. I fell off the wagon yesterday. I've been eating healthy. I went out and had a fry up for the first time in a long time. But I woke up this morning. I feel very positive about it. I'm actually looking forward to it now. I am, and it's very important that Mickey does do this. And I know that there's people that have been offering, you know, words of concern about Mickey because he's diabetic and stuff like that. We are going to be obviously working with Mickey. Mickey's going to be checking his blood levels every day and stuff like that. Of course you do. Medically, you've got to do that. But what we have got is Jay's got case studies. He's got a wonderful case study of somebody who struggling with cancer and went on a 10-day fast with Jay, and they were petrified because this guy's been shooting himself with insulin, you know, every day for the past God knows how long as well, and he had diabetes to the level where if his sugar levels were slightly off, you know, they was worried he weren't going to wake up. That was how severe his diabetes was, and the case study is amazing. It's like a little podcast that was done with the wife of this chap, and basically for the first time in God knows how long, throughout that entire 10 days, they're checking his blood levels. Lo and behold, not at any point throughout that 10 days did he even have to shoot himself with insulin. He was completely and utterly level throughout the whole 10 days. Because you don't eat for 3 days, so that it's just water for 3 days. But then you're just pumping yourself full of goodness because you're juicing. So it's all veg and fruits. So you're getting sugars as well. You're getting your sugars in there. So there's never any guarantee. So you can't, when you've got health issues, you have to monitor yourself, make sure your blood levels are where they should be. But yeah, if you were to hear that testimony from the wife of the chap that had that sort of severe diabetes, it is mind blowing. And what I'm going to do is at the end of this video, I'm going to play you the last 7 minutes from. It was day 9. It was day 9. So we always caught up on Zoom meetings, you know, just throughout, because that's the way that Jay runs it. It's very personal the way that he does it. It's fantastic. And then he's coached everyone through that, and it is a roller coaster. Honestly, I was phoning him up every day. I was angry, upset. I was frustrated. I was confused. Didn't know what was happening with my body. It felt weird. But then you get to about sort of day 8, day 9, and you do feel amazing. And this was the evening of day 9, and we did the Zoom call, but he almost done this like little reflection thing at the end, where played a little bit of calming music, and he just spoke. And honestly, when it came back on, most people were kind of upset, welling up, crying, because of how personal it was, and the sense of achievement that you get when you do that. It was so impressive. So we've had a lot of people reaching out saying that they'd like to do this fast. This isn't one of the official fasts. We're doing this just the 3 of us. You know, when Jay runs this, he wants to make sure that he plies everyone with enough information, because you get massive information packs. You've got to consume all of that. He wants to know that you know what you're getting yourself into. So this is just going to be me, Mickey, and Jay on this fast. But the official fast is going to be happening in about 4 weeks to 6 weeks. And the fasting group is open on our platform. You know, you can join us, claretandbooze.net, sign up, reach out to us, and we'll give you access to the fast program. You get 50% off the fast. They happen 4 times a year. So this one isn't a public one. This is just something we're doing as a bit of an intervention to help Mickey out. But I'm going to play this little video at the end, just to, you know, personal to us. But so you haven't got to watch it if you don't want to. But I'm going to give you Jay's little talk first, and then I'll see you in a second. I'll be back in a minute.
Go Reds! There's the hammers. There's girls' thumbs all over the gaff. So here's a question for you. Oh, actually, I forgot. Day 12 into Nick's journey into morningness. Well done, Nick. So, what makes you truly happy? If I could, I offered you £10 million cash in a bag. Wash, there you go. How would you feel? What would you do with it? 10 mil. And what if, though, with that offer, there was a caveat? Is that 10 mil, but you don't get to wake up tomorrow if you take it? Would you still take it? Go Reds! Have a great day, people. You're priceless.
Good one. That is a good one. Short and sharp. It's true, though, isn't it? Nobody would take that money if you thought you weren't going to wake up in the morning. No. Yeah, that's a brilliant one. So look, I'm gonna leave you with why has that popped up? Nikki, it's me. Hang on 1 minute. So I'm going to leave you with this, okay? I appreciate it's not going to be for everyone, but this is kind of it. This was very personal to me. In fact, this is what's motivated me. I found this in my videos on my phone yesterday, and I watched it again, and I got quite upset and emotional watching it because I remember what I went through, and it meant a lot. It meant a lot. So I'm going to leave this with you. Have a cracking day. You know, hopefully we get a result later on. Hopefully Jared Bowen gets a start and a few others, maybe Ivan Toney and Watkins, and he changes things up. Hopefully Phil Foden ain't out on the left. Hopefully Trippier ain't filling in at left back. They're the only tweaks I'd make. The striker, the left wing position. Obviously, Alexander-Arnold in central midfield was just nonsense, and Trippier at left back. But I'm going to leave you with this anyway. Love you all. Speak to you soon.
Now, some of you are sitting there with your partners as well. Like I've got my beautiful wife with me on the bed who shared another painful journey with me into fasting. So this is a shared little exercise that you've got with that person that you love that's there with you also. Adds a nice touch. I want you to try and consciously think back to when you signed up for this fast. Try and remember, where was you? When you actually put your details in, you signed up.
Now expand on that into what made you sign up? What was your reason? Was it Nick? As in our own Nicholas, who bravely put it out there on YouTube for us carrot and boozers? For the non-carrot and boozers, what triggered you into fasting again? Or for the first time? What was your reasons? Because the thing is, whatever your reasons were, you knew, even without knowing what the experience was going to be like, you knew the thought of not eating for 10 days was going to be difficult. So why the fuck did you choose to do it? That's important, especially at this point. And now let's roll forward into day one. Starting the experience, drinking your water, seeing the group chats, making decisions. Ooh, do I engage? Do I not engage? Do I leave a comment? Do I not? Rolling into day two, hitting that fucking wall. Why did I do this? I'm never gonna make it. I've got another 8 days. Don't want to quit. Don't let anyone down. Don't let myself down. Rolling into day 3. Fucking hell. Another water day. When's the juices coming? Messages in the group. Starting to pick up a little bit of inner strength, a bit of inner bravery to actually, I might leave a message in. I might be honest and vulnerable. Day 4. Flavour. Juice. Rolling into day 5. Day 6. Hitting walls. Feeling upset. Loads of emotions coming up. Maybe past traumas, anger, frustration, tormenting yourself, your ego really going at you. Day 7, all of a sudden, hold on, I've done a week with no food. Why did I do this again? Oh yeah, that's why. I'm starting to feel that presence of my soul that I'm feeling to do this. Getting into day 8. Day 9. Day 9. I've got 1 day left. I've done it. It's hard. I've hit another wall. But I've hit many walls over the last 9 days. And I've still stood up. For who? For myself. Even doing it with your beautiful loved ones that are there with you. You was on a collective journey, but the experience was individual. This was a journey about showing yourself that you do still love yourself, that you do still respect yourself, that you can still achieve. That little person in you that at one point was full of innovation, full of determination, full of dreams, that's still alive. Day 10. I fucking done it. All the emotions, all the videos, laughter, tears. But we done it. And it's this feeling now that you've got to make a conscious choice, individually, but accountable as a collective. What do I do from now on? Am I going to choose to not have to work as hard because I've done the hard work? Am I going to choose to keep this momentum, to stay on this path, to put me and my health, mental, physical, and spiritual first? Some of you might feel you're not spiritual. Bollocks. Look at the definition of the word spirituality. Do you know what it is? Pretty much verbatim. Someone who puts feelings in front of physical things. Is that not you? Have you not shown yourself that in the last 10 days? So what am I going to do next? What choices am I going to make? Do I want to feel like I feel now? Logically, I'd say, yeah, I do actually. I want to keep this feeling: pride, strength, resilience, togetherness. It's not a new you. You've rediscovered a bit of you. You spent a lot of time being mums, being dads, being employees, employers, sisters, brothers, friends, podcasters, all these roles. But you've taken a bit of time away from that over the last 10 days. You've had to. Because it's been you battling with you. And you won. You're here. And I'm, for one, and just proud to be a part of this fast, this community. It's been really, really special. I'm going to start to fade the music out. Just have a think before you come back.
Oh, right. I'm going to go now. Just wanted to say, fucking got me going again, that did. I banter with Jay a lot in there, you know. I absolutely love the guy. I really do. One of the nicest people I've ever met, and I'm proud to call a mate. He is a mate now. A very, very close and special mate of mine. One of the best people I've ever met, honestly. Just completely selfless, gives all of his time for other people. Yeah, if whoever does decide at some point to sort of come on the next journey with Jay and with me, because I'll probably go on the next one as well. I will. Just, yeah, you're in the best of hands. Trust me. The guy's class, and he's West Ham. Come on, you ones.